clearly the hill isn't actually an issue.
Hello and welcome along to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel. We've taken a break, but now it is time for me and Andrew to review the 2025 Cheltenham Festival. Looking forward to it?
Yeah, very much so. I thought it was a great Cheltenham, actually. Not necessarily for everyone's pockets, but it brought back some of the allure of the unknown, and I suppose some of the results you couldn't have picked out beforehand. But I think that's good. I think we were going down the route of maybe it all becoming a little bit too predictable last year. I came away from Cheltenham this year not flush with money, but flush with excitement and just the idea that it was a little bit back.
It had everything. Thrills, spills, fallers, dramatic fallers, monster performances, exciting novices and horses to look forward to next year, and then also some disappointments which we will talk about as well. So over the next kind of 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to kind of give a general overview of the Cheltenham Festival. And the reason why is because we've got some news. Now, this is news that I think hopefully viewers will welcome.
That's the hope.
Because often after, say, Punchestown, we go away for a few months.
We do.
We go away normally until about September.
Yeah.
Start of September.
Then, yeah.
Well, that's not going to be the case this year. You're going to have us throughout the summer. No. We're not talking about flat racing. You don't need to worry about that. We're talking about Cheltenham, about Aintree and about Punchestown, and basically highlighting 20 to 25 big performances or big races or talking points, dissecting them, and then thinking about next season with regards to horses who featured in them, which horses should be going up in trip, which horses should be going chasing, which horses are champion hurdle horses. Is there one that's well handicapped? We're going to be trying to find anyway, lots of horses to be on side with next season, and that will run through probably until the start of August. We will take a month off eventually, but just something that I thought you would be interested in, and that's the reason why we're not necessarily going to go in loads and loads and loads of detail in this video, because if not, we'll ruin a whole summer's worth of content.
Yeah, that's the key. But I think considering we have the access to the footage, we can put a forensic kind of look at not only Cheltenham, but obviously at that stage you'll be Aintree and Punchestown as well, and we can really punch the numbers as to what we're looking forward to next year.
Absolutely, with the help of Racing TV, which we are in association with. First of all, we've got a couple of things to plug. The first one being Cheltenham Festival tickets with Aintree around the corner. We're actually both going to Aintree, hopefully. But that's capturing our excitement at the moment. But you can actually go and purchase Cheltenham 2026 tickets for a lot cheaper. If you do it now, it's a bit more affordable. Obviously, we know that the Cheltenham ticket prices come under a lot of pressure. People think they're very expensive. But if you get them now, they're not so expensive. Just to put that into context, if you went to go to Best Mate, say, on the Tuesday, it'll cost 35 quid now and compared to 70 quid on the gate on the day. If you want club enclosure tickets, say, on the Tuesday, it costs £83 instead of 126 on the day. The Gold Cup, if you want to be there for hopefully Galopin trying to regain his Gold Cup crown, you can go in the Best Mate enclosure for 50 quid instead of 89, which will be on the day. So that's almost 50% off with some tickets. There is actually 50% off with some tickets, but there's big discounts if you want to get them now. That runs through to the 30th of April. So a good play from Cheltenham to try and get people to buy tickets early, but also it's probably quite handy if you're already planning on going to the festival next year. So if you are, do go and hit the link in the description and do go and purchase some tickets for the 2026 Cheltenham Festival, which we'll be talking about for months and months and months leading up to it, for those very, very happy anti-post punters that followed us in on everything. I'm sure they'll be delighted to hear.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got loads of money to cash in.
Another one as well, and this, we're not being paid for this, but we have a good friend called Frankie Foster. You may have seen him online. Race Day, does loads of different things, and he has got a tie company. Again, we're not paid to do this, but they're really good quality ties, and he's just come out with 3 new different styles. He doesn't even know that we're talking about this on this podcast, but I just think that it's important to support your friends when they're trying to do something. It's a startup. He wants to grow it as much as possible, and they're genuinely really good. So we'll also leave a link down to those in the description. Do go and have a look. Even if it's just having a look, it's still something that will help him as well. You never know. You might just find your dream tie, and they're all racing related as well. So they're all, I think one's after Galopin as well.
Yeah. No, they are actually
Star.
very, very good.
Yeah, they are very, very nice. I have one myself, really good quality, and very much looking forward to getting that out during the summer. Right, now let's talk about the 2025 festival, because it had absolutely everything.
It did.
Going into day one, we thought we were going to have this thrilling champion hurdle. We'll get onto that a bit later. But the one horse we also thought would be quite impressive on day one was Copec de Board in the Supreme. He went and won. Were you impressed?
Very much so. I've struggled to believe just where to put the form, whether it's very, very good and William Money has really improved, or perhaps that performance at the Dublin Racing Festival ever so slightly flattered Copec de Board. I think it's maybe somewhere in between. Romeo Coolio is a good yardstick to have back in third. They were well clear of fourth as well. This is a very, very good horse. His jumping still needs a little bit of work. He was green when he got to the front. I think he was possibly worth a little bit more than the winning distance suggests. William Money, he's a good horse. He's a very good horse. And I know some people will have their ideas about Barry Connell. I'm probably a little bit overly, up Barry Connell at times. But to be fair to him, he brought William Money and Marine Nationale to the festival and they peaked there. And he ran a very, very good race. What was your thoughts on Romeo Coolio? I suppose it was almost the type of run you were expecting.
Yes, I actually thought that was the way to get the most out of him as well. I thought kicking on at the top of the hill, I think I said that before, didn't I? Saying a really aggressive ride, get them going for it, would suit him. I think he's a good horse. I don't think he's a great horse. I think that probably is just how he ran, and he was beaten by two horses very much on the up. William Money still doesn't necessarily do it for me. I know people are talking about him as an Arkle horse for next year.
I think he's got to prove it to beat this horse. As I say, I think...
Well, do you think Copec de Board will go chasing?
I do think so.
I think he will as well. People talking about a champion hurdle horse. The one thing is on race IQ data and sectionals. Obviously, lots of people talk about those, and we're not necessarily that angle, but people are raving about his performance. They thought it was brilliant, which I thought was interesting, because on the eye, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think that was my initial idea as well, but at the same time, they did go an end-to-end gallop, and horses were falling away left, right and centre. Decent enough horses at that as well. So usually indicative of a very strongly run race. You could name that both ways in terms of, did the race slightly fall apart as a result, or was it actually just the best horses coming to the fore? I'd probably take the option that it was the second, but I do believe Copec de Board does hold William Money, and as much as, people will obviously want to back William Money because he's 25 to 1 for an Arkle or something like that, I think he does have to go and prove it.
Does he go chasing, and does he win the Arkle? So he goes chasing.
He does go chasing. At the moment, you would find it a struggle to see how he gets beat.
The Arkle comes next, and we had another short price Willie Mullins favourite in Madgerow. What went wrong?
Just the jumping fell apart. Unfortunately, he made a mistake at the top of the hill, then made an absolute howler at 2 out, and made it even, an equally bad mistake at the last, when actually if he'd gone and flown that, he'd actually still have won the race.
Well, he clattered the last, and then there was still a moment afterwards where he's actually still going to win here.
Yeah. I think that's probably a sign of what type of race we were dealing with. He was the best horse in the race, there's no doubt about that, but his jumping fell apart. It can't do that at 2 miles at Cheltenham.
I think going a bit slow would help him.
It probably would.
I think he'll go up in trip.
I think so. The only problem is that he's probably a horse that doesn't know in his own head. He kind of reminds me of Classical Dream, where he is probably a stayer, but the horse doesn't believe that almost.
Yeah.
Like, he's a keen horse. He acts a little bit like an idiot at times, really. He's just kind of bashing through fences. It was a bit of an unsatisfactory race for me, I must say.
Willie always thinks that juveniles end up 3-milers, good juveniles. So I still think he'll be a really, really good horse over further. Django By, is he a Ryanair horse? Or a champion chaser?
Maybe so. I'd be highly, highly surprised if he won a Grade 1 next season.
Meartown. So when we were on course, a good friend Cam Sword came up to me. He said, "The one you need to back from Lucinda's in the Ultima is Whistle Stop Tour." And I said, "Okay, interesting." He said, "That's the one. Scu told me that thing's going to go and win." The other Lucinda Russell horse gets pumped into favourite and goes and absolutely hacks up. I've never seen anything like it. He went to the front, winged everything, quickened again. Like that was genuinely a breathtaking performance.
Yeah, your pants were well and truly down there. It was an odd one though, because there was so much money for the horse, and yet I kind of didn't meet anyone over the 2 days I was there that backed the horse.
No, also wasn't really mentioned on preview nights.
No, like everyone from the stable seemed to be so adamant about Whistle Stop Tour. Derek Fox obviously picked Whistle Stop Tour, and this horse then suddenly gets bumped into favouritism. Maybe it was because on preview nights they didn't think he was going to get into the race. He obviously crept in as 23 at 24. But he jumps superbly. I didn't think he was going to be able to dictate in the way he did in a big field handicap. He's done that in 3-runner, 4-runner races around Kelso. It's a completely different thing to what you're getting in an Ultima. The Changing Man probably ran, as you'd expect him to, ran a very honest race, but second again.
Yeah, with the winner being a novice, I think he'll go to the Grade 1 at Aintree.
Yeah.
I think he genuinely run a massive race.
Oh, I don't know.
I think he'll improve.
Depends who he's up against. But like Chianti Classico, I felt was a better horse going into a Grade 1 last year, and he got stuffed.
Yeah, but that thing, I've never seen anything like it.
That is true. It is true. But yeah, I need to see it again. He's won off such a lightweight. Going from winning an Ultima off a very, very lightweight to a Grade 1's a different thing.
I'm not sure he's going to win a Grade 1.
No,
I think he'll run a
could
massive
run
race.
He could run.
The following race was... We said the Arkle was unsatisfactory. Now, Lossiemouth was breathtaking in the Mare's Hurdle. She was amazing. But probably what happened 40 minutes later highlighted the real race she should have been running in. She was just far too good for these, wasn't she?
She was.
She was a champion hurdle horse.
Yeah, I think what we possibly lost was just how good she is at Cheltenham. I think she's a £10 better horse at Cheltenham. All of her runs, Triumph Hurdle, Mare's Hurdle last year, International Hurdle, this one again. She's just a better horse. She seems to come alive there. It was a feeling of good to see her win to a certain degree, bit annoyed to a certain degree. She should have been in the champion hurdle.
It was funny. So there's some lads next to us as we were watching it, and they booed her.
Yeah,
That was a small group. Anyway, my girlfriend didn't appreciate that. Genuinely shouted at them, like telling them to stop. And I can understand what the lads were thinking. They thought it was bad. I don't agree with booing any horse. Maybe they're probably booing Connections. Anyway, they won't do it again.
Yeah. Well, that's a fair point. I find it a difficult one. Obviously my dad loves Lossiemouth, so therefore, I think she was 4 to 5 on the morning. He's there thinking to himself, screw where she's running. She's 4 to 5 and she should be maybe 1 to 5. So we're there clapping her in. I'm all for, I think in that situation you've got to appreciate, it's not the bloody horse's fault she's in the Mare's Hurdle. No. She's a really, really talented horse. I clapped her in gratefully. I wasn't overly keen on the big Rich Richie Joe Chambers, parade. Joe Chambers is there kind of cupping his ears to the crowd. I was there going, come on, mate, you're better than that. But there's nothing to do. That's nothing to do with the horse itself. I think on the horse itself, very glad to see her win and watch her, and clap her in. Connections, you can kind of make up your own mind about.
Outside of her, I thought this race was really bad.
Well, I think Take No Chances coming third probably tells you all you need to know.
I really don't think Jay de Grugy's I think she will always, if she bumps into one like that, always struggle to even lay up. Like she's just, if she was running in any of the open Grade 1s, nowhere near.
No. And I think the thing was that she actually got a bit of a freebie. And still got pumped. She also was cocking her jaw to her right, which she's never done before. Take No Chances. Don't get me wrong. Very progressive, lovely mare.
Lovely mare. But we're not talking with Brighter Days Ahead and Lossiemouth going into that champion hurdle. If they were going to run these are special mares, and it just reminds you that one can be so superior.
Yeah, but I went into the race thinking if Lossiemouth didn't run in the race, it reminded me of the year that Marie's Rock won it. That's probably not far off the case.
No, I agree. The champion hurdle then was next, and we had the big three. We had State Man, who wasn't really considered that much, but we had the big two in Brighter Days Ahead in Constitution Hill. Constitution Hill fell early on at the top of the hill. Brighter Days Ahead then looked like she had the race in the palm of her hand. Wasn't going with that much zest, I didn't think, throughout the race. I thought Jack was always asking and asking and asking. Anyway, she pretty much stopped. Then you have a situation with cheap pieces on State Man. It's revived him. He's going to the last, I think, 5 or 6 lengths clear, just needs to go and jump it. He then dramatically falls. The race then falls into the hands of Golden Ace. I think if you told me at the start of that race that the 1, 2, 3 would be Golden Ace 25-1, Burdett Road 66s, and Winter Fog 150s, I'd been absolutely astounded. Anyway, Golden Ace, incredible achievement for Jeremy Scott to go and win a champion hurdle. I feel that he will never have luck quite like it.
No, and to be fair to him, he comes across a nice guy.
And if anything, that epitomises the reason why when you have a good horse and you've got a horse who can run in a champion hurdle or a big race like that, you should.
Well, I think his owner, and your man Ian Gosden comes across a little bit of a contrary character at times, but I quite like his attitude to it in terms of that she won the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. He's had his Cheltenham Festival day, and I think his idea was that we've had that day, I've had a winner, so therefore I'm going to roll the dice and run in the big race. You know, what has happened, you know, she'd have probably come third if everything had stood up realistically, but she's there, she took advantage of it. Constitution Hill, it was too far out to kind of come to any conclusions. Disappointing, obviously, to see him fall. I was awfully disappointed for State Man, you know, a horse that I've kind of defended on
he was brilliant as well.
A cross for a long time, kind of giving him the big one when nobody else would. And he was almost going to get his big day where he kind of almost shushes everybody. And he takes a fall at the last. I don't think he'd have ran away from Golden Ace. I think Golden Ace was running a big race and probably would have gotten within 3 or 4 lengths of him, but he did have the race won. There's not a whole pile to say about it. I would have thought State Man would confirm that form with Golden Ace if he stood up and if they ran against each other at punches down. But good on the team for running Golden Ace, and if you roll the dice, you get the reward sometimes.
I agree, and with the way that race went, obviously I actually thought Constitution Hill was going really, really well. But what I really hope is Connections of Lossiemouth now look at the Champion Hurdle next year, and no matter what happens before, they go, she's just simply a superstar around Cheltenham. Let's just roll the dice. Because she'd have won that. I know you can say
coulda,
woulda, should. I get that. But obviously, if that's who finished first, second and third and she was against them, you suspect she'd have absolutely beaten them silly. And she'd have really put it up to State Man as well, even with how well he was going. She may have even been good enough to beat all of them. You never know. I just think, hopefully, we see her in the Champion Hurdle next year. The following race then was the Boodles, and this was probably the most satisfying race for me all week. Obviously, we know how much I liked Beyond Your Dreams, put her up on the Anti-Post series. She went into a silly price. She was very, very short. But throughout the whole of that time when I was putting up Beyond Your Dreams, I had a lot of respect for Put Your Hands Together, kept thinking that he was also one that would go very, very close. And actually, towards the race, and in all the preview nights and in the preview video, I said that he was the one I actually really fancied. He went and won, and my goodness me, did he have some ability, untapped ability that the handicapper clearly hadn't got hold of.
No, it was as clear as it got, really. You know, that collaborative run where he was strangled into second looked like they were obviously planning for something. I did find it amusing. David Bass was riding Hot Fuzz and driving him down to the last. They both jumped the last. Mark Walsh had the most leisurely look across the track, as if anything over there? No. And just kind of went and won the race.
He drifted as well.
He did. He was a very backable price on the day, and
drifted up the running. That's what I meant.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, but he was well ahead of the handicap. I wouldn't know actually how good he is in the grand scheme of things, but he was certainly ahead of his mark.
Yeah, I think that he'll run a big race, and I suspect he'll go to a Grade 1 next, either Aintree or Punches Down. I think he'll run a big race. Might not be good enough to win. And then I suspect that was followed by one of your most satisfying moments of the week.
Probably for the two of us, it was the hour.
The golden hour. Forget Paisley Park and Frodon. This was the golden hour.
I loved watching Haiti Kallur because actually for a 3 mile 6 race, he had very little issues all the way round. He jumped for fun. He's just a really nice progressive horse. I don't know where his ceiling lies. He's probably a national horse in time. It was great to see. It was good to see throughout the week that we did have a bit of variety in terms of trainers winning. Obviously, Rebecca Curtis has had plenty of lean years. Good to see her back on the big stage.
4-3 up after the first day. I was getting jumpy.
Yeah. It went all a bit Pete Tong after that, unfortunately. But he was very good. Now's the hour. Would have come second. I'd have thought he's maybe one to keep on side for. I think they're planning a go at the Whitbread at Sandown with him. So he's the type of horse to maybe keep on side because he won't get bashed by the handicapper.
4-3 on the first day, 6-1 to the Irish on the second day. But the first one of those was British, and that was the New Lion going and beating the Yellow Clay and Final Demand. Now, this was a proper race. 3 horses who I actually think all probably ran their race, considering all things considered. They all came to the last together. The New Lion, the speedier horse, maybe the champion hurdler out of the 3, goes and just has a bit too much toe for the Yellow Clay and Final Demand. The Yellow Clay ran a massive race, by the way. Did not think he had that in him. Final Demand, I think the ground probably caught him out a bit. Probably would appreciate softer ground. I think he'd be a real force over 3 miles and fences. But the New Lion, as a prospect, is very exciting, isn't he?
He's an excellent horse. This was possibly the race I enjoyed the most of the whole festival, to be honest. It was great to see 3 fancied horses all jumping the last, pretty much upsides. Obviously, it makes a bit of a difference when you're on the winner rather than the second. I'm not going to lie. But
with regards to when we mentioned Cop at the board, I felt like he had so much learning to do. Whether the New Lion is so professional.
He is, yeah. He jumped for fun. He travelled well. Skelton gave him a ice cool ride. He was trying to go up the inside of Jack Kennedy turning in and quickly got told that wasn't the way to go. But he did manage to get out and it flung him at the last. It could have been a bit make or break, but he was very impressive. I was like you, I didn't give the Yellow Clay much chance of really threatening the first 2 in the market, but the money kept coming in for him and he ran an enormous race. I get your point about Final Demand. He would like a bit of softer ground, probably needs 3 miles as well. I was disappointed. I thought it was a tame finishing effort from him, and there just seems to be, just looking at plenty of other review videos, there seems to be this rhetoric going around that Final Demand will definitely be better than the Yellow Clay over a fence next year. I wouldn't be so sure.
I think he's going to be a proper horse. I think fences will make him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but there just seems to be this absolute certainty that he's going to turn around 5 lengths of form.
I think he will.
Okay. I'll be in the Yellow Clay camp on that one.
Okay. Moving on to the Brown Advisory, and again, another short price favourite beat. Ballyburn was beaten. Lecky Watson went and won. A horse who was close to your heart. How do you feel about him winning?
Perplexed.
Well, I say close to your heart.
Well, I backed him like twice last year. I wouldn't say that there's plenty of horses closer.
He's not on the wedding list.
No, he's certainly not on the wedding list. I was against Ballyburn all year. Out of his jumping, wasn't sure. Then came to this grand theory that he was going to win, and then my initial theory was right. My issue was that if I was taking him on, it would have been with Dancing City, who ran equally terribly. He ran an awful race. Kind of
jumped really nicely for the first mile and a half, 2 miles.
Yeah.
And then just
went out like a light after 3 out. He made a mistake at 3 out, and that was the end of him. I think there was 7 in the race. Lecky Watson would have been the 7th horse I'd have backed. You get some people on Twitter go, I can't believe he was 25 to 1. Like, he won a Punchestown the last day. If I Were a Rich Man was a length down on him. Like, I don't know where people could have actually really made a solid case.
What do you do with Ballyburn next? Hurdles?
Maybe.
His head carriage, I just don't... Like, he's always... It's fine, but his head is so low, and then he suddenly gets to a fence, and he always has to put it up. That can't be something like good and natural for a horse.
No, I'm going to hold judgment on Ballyburn. I wasn't a fan of him this year. As I say, I've done a complete U-turn, then fancied him for the race. He's broken my heart, and he's going to have some job repairing it. I'm not saying he's going to turn into the same by any stretch, because he's probably a better horse, and he's probably
Let me say one. Am I going to say the same horse? Sir Gerhard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know whether he's one of these horses that he's going to go back over hurdles. People are going to think he's a stairs hurdle horse, and he doesn't stay 3 miles. and then he's going to kind of be potting around in 2.5 mile hurdle races or something like that. Now, he might be up to winning an Aintree hurdle or something, perhaps. I don't know. But I don't know. He'd be a long way before I'd be backing him for anything.
What do you think of the Coral Cup?
Yeah, like I suppose on a bit of Grade 1 form, Jimmy Desoy had a chance, but
It's funny, isn't it? Because they made all those different rules about how many how many runs novices can have before running in these Cheltenham Festival handicaps. And if there was one horse that was like the most unexposed with regards to having not run this season, he was the one, and he went and won very impressively.
He did. He absolutely hacked up.
No matter how many rules you put in, Willie Mullins will find a way.
Yeah, exactly. And then Willie's coming out after the race. Oh yeah, no, we really fancied that he was off a good mark and put him away, especially. They're going, well, thanks for the text.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't a race that kind of did anything for me, to be honest. I backed a couple in it. They finished nowhere. I kind of swiftly moved on.
Yep. Stumptown in the cross country.
Look, he was good. The fact that he kind of ground it out. He didn't look like he was going to win at 3 out and won impressively in the end. It was the worst cross-country race I've seen in a long time at the festival.
He limped over the line. All of them did.
He's 7-8 to 1 for the Grand National. I couldn't have him in a fit.
I agree.
I couldn't have him in a fit. Vanillier went the wrong route.
He could have won. Yeah.
And still finished 8 lengths down. Chemical Energy jumped the last in front. I think he's still up the run in with his hind legs tied together. Poor old Galvin ran like something was completely wrong. He's subsequently been retired.
Do you think moving this race back to a handicap, now looking at it having been run, was the right thing to do? Do you think that was the issue?
No, I think it's just sometimes you get eras of horses, and like the fact that it's probably so close this year from Cheltenham to Aintree didn't help. You didn't have the likes of a Manila Indo running. Obviously, we lost poor old Delta Work a few weeks before the race. The French horse was injured.
Galvin since been retired.
Galvin and ran a hopeless race as if a horse that wasn't right. So it does fall apart as a division when you take 3 or 4 of the best out of it.
Marine Nationale has won a champion chase.
By 18 lengths.
If we're just looking at form, he's beaten John Bond by 18 lengths. This is a Sprinter Sacre performance. That wasn't really the full story, though, was it?
No, certainly not.
I think he'd have won.
I think he'd have won. I don't think he'd have won by that far, to be honest. I think Quilixios would have kept rallying. He might have won 2 or 3 lengths. But the thing that I really was impressed by Marine was that, like, if you look at that race at Naas at the start of the season, he went around kicking fences out of the way, and he went around the champion chase, didn't miss a beat.
He was brilliant.
John Bon, on the other hand,
if he ever had an opportunity, it was this. And to be fair, I thought it was miraculous that he's finished second.
Yeah, and he's probably, to be honest, I've almost got more respect for him at Cheltenham for coming second. Like, clearly the hill isn't actually an issue. The problem is that just he can't dictate perhaps the way he wants to in a race like this, and as a result his jumping does seem to come under that little bit more pressure.
And at Cheltenham, he's, other than the Schlur wins against inferior horses, he just hasn't put it all together. We know the horse is there.
Of course, yeah.
If they both turn up in the celebration chase,
I'd beat Marine 10 times out of 10, I think.
For whatever reason, at Cheltenham, he's just unable to put it all together. And I thought it was genuinely a mighty run to finish second. And look, if he jumped perfectly, it'd have been a right race. And he probably may have possibly won. But he didn't. Jumping's the name of the game. And he's finished second as a result. I fear, again, another year on his back next year. I'm not convinced.
Is there a more irritating phrase in racing than jumping is the name of the game?
No, because it is true.
It really.
Yeah, but I found myself last week going, yeah, but John Bon would have won. He'd have beaten Marine, and then I was going, but the whole point is he didn't because his jumping was crap.
No, I do understand that, but I always find, like, on Twitter, it's people that have backed a winner. Like people that have backed Golden Ace will tell you that jumping is the name of the game because some horses tipped up 10 lengths clear, and you're going, you're just being an idiot.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Amazing that Marine won for Mikey O'Sullivan. Even more amazing that Jazzy Matty went and won 40 minutes later. Incredible 40 minutes. Didn't really feel real at the time.
No.
Just looking purely at the race, how did you feel that went? Unexpected Party ran a big race, and Jazzy Matty was a bit too good for him.
He did, yeah. Unexpected Party ran a huge race, considering he was up in the van all the way and they went quick. Cian Collins has done some job with Jazzy Matty, because as a juvenile he looked slow. I know he won a Boodles, but he looked like a stayer to me. He's managed to transform him into a pretty able 2-mile handicap chaser. Was fantastic for the story. Not sure the race has got plenty of winners throwing out of it, but it was a fantastic story.
Bumper?
Odd race. General feeling it wasn't a brilliant race. It was slowly run. Sean Bowen actually gave the second an unbelievably good ride. Heads up. Shuttle Diplomacy, a horse I put up as a horse to follow at the start of the season for maiden hurdles.
He's finished third in a champion bumper.
Third in a champion bumper. He ran a good race, but gut feeling is it was a bad bumper.
Right, Thursday, Air of Entitlement, beating 6.5. This hurt.
How did 6.5 get beat? I was coming down to it. Obviously, I've backed Diva Loon on the anti-post show, each way. I backed 6.5 on the day as kind of the, happy to have her on side as the one to beat. Diva Loon as a nice each way price. Coming down to the last, I'm thinking, I am the king of Cheltenham. I've got a 1-2 here. This thing comes out of nowhere. And it absolutely does 6.5. Like, I watch the race now. I still can't believe what has happened.
But she's clearly full of ability, the winner.
She is, yeah, and she won a down Royal Maiden beating Ballybow, but it still defies me how she won.
Moving on then to the Jack Richards Novices Handicap Chase, and this was tricky because one of my probably stronger fancies of the festival, if not the nap of the festival for me, was Nürburgring, who I still feel like we need to get on side. But it was a weird run. He was never really in it, but then he finished fourth. I think it was because Caldwell Potter was so good.
Potentially so. Caldwell Potter was just one of these horses that clearly does have talent, and he got a relatively free go at it at the front end.
After 3 fences, I was going, I just want to be on him.
Yeah.
And Springwell Bay, I think, was running a big race to the point he came down. Gutted for connections that he's no longer with us. But Caldwell Potter, my goodness me.
He was absolutely
very
super.
good.
But as you say, it was like kind of stage star Ginny's Destiny sort of stuff.
He's now going to Aintree for a 3-mile Grade 1 Novices Chase. How do you feel about that? I wouldn't know what Caldwell Potter would turn up.
He could win. He could come last. I think he's that type of horse. Nürburgring, we just wait, sit on our hands and collect in the Galway plate.
There we go. At least we're going to have a day. The Potemps.
Brian Hughes.
Right, so
what's he doing?
I think fans of the channel will know that Doddy the Great is a bit of a cliff horse for me, and I've gone off him for the last few runs. Anyway, he's going to win up Potemps at 25-1. That hurt. Feet of a Dancer, firstly.
Just got too far back.
Was given a...
Well, Dad was actually down at Wexford on Monday, and he bumped into James Nolan and very much felt from the team that it was the one that got away. She was just given far too much to do. I love Sean O'Keefe. I think he's a quality rider, but he just was too far back.
I got the impression that they were so conscious about stamina that they never put her in the race.
She's hit the line like an absolute train. Like, it was such a frustrating watch, because you knew 2 out, you're too far back. Like, she's genuinely going to have to be a Grade 1 horse to get them back from here, but she's only been beaten like 4 lengths. If there was ever an eye catcher, it was her. But that combined with a Brian Hughes ridden winner, like, that race just wanted to kick me in the nads.
I would absolutely love it if they were really clever with her now and turned up at this race next year off a similar mark and rode her like a 3-miler.
Yes. That would involve year planning, which...
Yeah. Fact to file. Incredible. Had everything. If there was one horse, which after the race this week, maybe the new lines in this as well, that I just went, wow, it was him. He was just immense. Because Ile Francais went a good clip.
He did.
Factafile went with Ile Francais. And then jumping, I think it was 3 out. he suddenly pulled alongside.
Game over.
And Walsh just kind of looked over at James Reeve and was like, is that all you've got? And then just went, go on then.
I love the way James Reeve almost tried to stay on the bridle as well, to like stay feeling like he was in the game.
He, honestly, Mark Walsh just looked at him and went,
Come on, mate.
come on. So good.
Absolutely super.
This time next year, so there's theories that he could be a 2-miler.
Yep.
That he could run in the 2-mile race at Punchestown.
Yep.
What race is he going to run in 12 months' time? Is he going to run in the Champion Chase, the Ryanair, or the Gold Cup?
The Ryanair.
And he's going to win it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a proper horse, isn't it?
He's a super horse, but he is like Allaho. I think at 2.5 miles, you make use of him. His jumping so much better. He's a quick horse. I don't think he'll stay a Gold Cup trip ever in his life, to be honest. And I don't think he's quick enough for a Champion Chase.
And they've got a Gold Cup winner now. A bit of a tease if you haven't watched any of the racing. So yeah, 2.5.
I just think he's made for it.
Bob Ollinger beating Teupu. This hurt.
It did hurt a lot.
We were all over Teupu, weren't we? Thought he was almost a certainty. The Woolparks ran a great race in third. It was quite nice, the fact that he got beat the way he did, because they should have run in the Potemps, and that was their payback as a result. But I'm thinking Teupu's cruising into it. Everything's going well. And then suddenly I see Rachel Blackmore. Brilliant bit of riding, by the way, because I'm not actually sure Bob Ollinger was going as well as he looked. And he kind of she kidded him into it. And, I mean, it was Bob at his best.
If you told me at the back of 2 out that Teupu would get beat, I'd have told you were lying to me. I'd have backed him at any price. At the back of 2
we did a live stream before the festival, and we asked Rob Akeson, who was watching, the Rob of Rob call.
Yeah.
Out of 10.
Chance.
He said 9 out of 10. Just worried about the ground. I wonder if he'd have given Bob a 10.
I think he'd have given Bob a 5.
He's gone and won.
But even coming down to the last, like Rachel seemingly was going better, I was still thinking to myself, it's Bob, though he doesn't stay. He stayed.
Jaguar won the plate. A horse on the up.
Yeah, very much so.
I think second was well handicapped, clearly. Well,
yeah, the two of them well ahead of us. 2 novices in an open handicap.
I think the company sergeant could be one for a Galway plate as well, that kind of race.
Yep, I could completely see that. Good training performance by Greenall and Guerriero. They've now landed 2 big punts for JP in the last couple of years.
He also goes to a Grade 1 at Aintree. I was at their yard the other day, and I think he's going to go for the Grade 1 there.
Is he up to that?
Not sure, but
may as well roll the dice.
Yep, roll the dice. Daily Present. Paul Nolan had a winner. Daily Present went and won the Kim Muir. Justice, but did it hurt a little bit because you weren't all over him? Yeah,
and I wasn't all over him for, I thought, just reason in terms of you can't back all of them, and he had a semblance of an each-way chance, but it was certainly an awful lot better than I thought he was going to run.
Now, one horse I know you've definitely backed. You 100% had a few quid on Ponderos, right, in the Triumph?
Yeah, of course, as a shrewd flat man that, has all these...
I'm thinking we're having a proper battle here at East India Dock, and fair enough, Lulamba is going to go and win impressively, get excited, an Arkle horse next year, who I think he could be. He looks very, very smart. And suddenly this thing at 100 to 1 comes out of nowhere. John Joe's actually looking like he can pick up, and he goes and does it.
Yeah. What, like handicap herd or handicap chaser, would you consider a bit of a shirker, like a kind of a second and third merchant? Maybe like a changing man. Not that he's a shirker, but he always comes second. Poneros was that on the flat. Like, he just ran in all those big mile 2 races, came second, third, never won any of them. And he's suddenly putting his head down to kill Lulamba backers, kill East India Dock backers. 100 yards from the line, I'm waving my East India Dock ticket in the air. I was almost put, in the back of the gallery in Racing TV, I have the racing post ready to throw in the air. I've somehow come third.
Lulamba's a proper horse, though.
Yeah, he's a proper horse, just too raw, I think, to win the race.
We'll move on. Cargeese won the County Hurdle very, very well. In Lark in the morning ran no race. That was very disappointing, but Cargeese was good, and I suspect that's the last time we'll see her in a handicap for some while. Yeah,
she looked a Rick on paper. I was a little bit disappointed just the way the race was ran. It didn't suit Esquil Diamond.
No, they went a real crawl.
Exactly, especially for a County Hurdle. He hit the line hard. He's got one of these races in him, definitely, but... Unfortunately, it just didn't work out the way you'd have liked it to have worked out.
Because I think he was 14th. Yeah, he was beaten 8.5 lengths. That goes to show you how.
Yeah, like there was just they were just all bunched up. They went no gallop. Like it was the same as the Pertemps. I couldn't believe it, especially when you're on hold up horses. It was a frustrating week, but Cargisi was. I think no matter how the race was won, I think if they'd gone quicker, she'd have won easier.
Dino Blue was very, very good. We'll move on to the Bartlett though. Jasmine DeVoe went and beat the Big Westerner. There Hassan Paddy, a great run back in third. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, look, I couldn't have had the horse myself.
I actually think you were massively, massively against him for anything.
Yeah, completely. The writing was on the wall though when Townend picked it, I thought, to a certain extent. Didn't make me back it or anything, but I was thinking half an hour before the Gold Cup, he's not going to put himself on this thing if he thinks it's got absolutely no chance. I thought he'd ride Argento Boy. Argento Boy ended up finishing 33-1 and is still running. So it's just one of those. The Big Westerner was perhaps a shade unlucky. Jasmine DeVoe's near on the bet at Cheltenham next year if you knew for a fact he was going to the Stayers Hurdle. But I think they'll try chasing with him, and therefore it's probably not a bet. But it is something that I have backed.
I know the way you're thinking, beat Galopin the Champs in the Gold Cup. It wasn't to be. We weren't meant to have 3 in a row.
No,
but
no, good things don't happen to us, unfortunately.
Was Galopin ever going as well as he can?
No, not necessarily, but at the same time, you know, people love saying this after the race. I think near on everyone would have still thought when he jumped 3 out and he went into the lead, everyone kind of went, oh, he's still going to do it, though.
Was it ground that got him?
Potentially so. A combination of ground, maybe just all those big performances, maybe at some stage just beginning to catch up with him. I thought he ran an enormous race, considering he pretty much hasn't gone all the way. And he still finished 12 lengths in front of third, just the mark of the horse. Winner, absolutely superb. So the winner takes an awful lot of beating in the race next year.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad that they didn't get to the National. And I know that might be unpopular. I'm going to be there doing the big screens on Aintree. Obviously, it would be a wonderful thing for the race course, for everything, if he was to run. But we know what happened with the last horse who tried to do it in synchronise. And also, he's 7. This could be a Gold Cup horse for the next 2 or 3 years. No need to run him in a Grand National a couple of weeks after he's won a Gold Cup. Won the Wall, won the Fox Hunters. It's on the line, just a bit of a second.
Yeah, that's the type of race that you'd hate to have been on course for, because there'll be some goons that have backed it because of Oasis and stuff like that. Yeah. And you could have given I backed Sam Curling's first string Angels Dawn, who ran no race, and yet this thing jumped like a bunny.
Yep. The last race was actually a very impressive horse. Wadu went and won the Martin Pipe. She is a proper horse now. I think we were all looking at that form from Cheltenham thinking it was very impressive, but we were probably looking at it with slight bit of doubt. Is she that good? She just is.
Yeah, she was too short for me in the anti-post markets. She actually went out to 8-1 on the morning of the day, which probably was a price. Went back into 9-2. Based on the way she won, she actually probably would have come second in the Mayor's Hurdle, to be honest.
I agree.
A sign of the Friday Times was when you came into me after the last, and I was pointing at the screen, letting you know Parker Kings came 5th for my each way returns. That's probably a sign of a poor day.
And Ollie Murphy finishing second as well.
that horse came from like 20th.
I know, amazing. Great result for Murph. But that's a very brief Cheltenham review. We are going to go into the big races in a lot more detail over the summer. But overall, anti-post was disappointing. I don't think we had any winners.
No, I had 3 places. I had an absolute no-show in the Fred Winter and a horse that didn't turn up to the cross country.
Yeah, so apologies for those that followed us in with those. Although we lost money as well, and also we did pick out a few horses that were backed heavily. So I suppose from a value point of view, it was good, but you can't pay the bills of value. No,
unfortunately not. I know plenty of people have had poor weeks. Some people will have had decent weeks. We got ahead of the game on some positions. Unfortunately, just the ball didn't quite bounce the way.
I was ahead on day 1 and then down day 2, 3 and 4.
Yeah, had a good day 1, half decent day 2. Day 3 and day 4 were a struggle.
Big struggle. just to let you know, again, just to remind you, you can get Cheltenham Festival 2026 tickets now for a much discounted price in comparison to what they'll be close to the time. Again, you can go to the Tuesday next year in the best met enclosure for 35 quid. Great value instead of 70 of what it'll be on the day. So do go and look at the link below, and we'll see you at Aintree. Well, we'll see you for a video next week previewing the Grand National at Aintree.